Why do you keep lying if I know the whole story? Why do you keep trying to convince me that you aren't doing anything wrong or that you don't like this person when I know the whole story from beginning, middle, and end? It happens a lot when people discard us or when people are about to discard us and we find out information and we confront them about them and they immediately go with, no, that's not true. No, I'm not doing that. No, I don't like this person. No, I never did. Or they'll give you a fake name. You confront them about them. Do you like someone else? They say yes. You ask them for a name. You already know the name and they give you a whole completely different name. Someone completely different. Why? Why do you do that? Why do you try to protect us yet hurt us at the same time? Why does this person that you once really loved try to kind of is lying to your face? Let's just say it straight up, is lying to your face, yet at the same time lying because they just want to protect you. But it's like a double-edged sword. No matter what you say or do, we already know the truth. So just come out and say it. You're thinking like I'm clueless when I've already known everything. I'm not clueless. And I feel like people lie or lie to you and tell you, no, I don't like this person. No, I'm not seeing somebody else because they just kind of want to make it seem like it's not something big. They don't want to admit that what they're doing is wrong. If I was the one to do that and I said, I'm not seeing someone, it makes me feel a little bit better about myself. But if I were to say, no, I am seeing someone else, I am liking someone else, but I'm in this relationship, it makes me feel even worse. So people kind of deflect that. They try to hide it. They try their best to kind of tone it down. And even that means going up to their partner and saying, no, I don't like them. No, I'm not seeing anyone. No, you're just thinking these things. Why are you thinking these things? And they only say that because they're just scared to admit the truth. They're scared to come out and say it. So instead, they'll play along and think that you're clueless and hopefully pray that you don't actually know the truth. But as in my case, I found out everything. We are a couple days from Valentine's Day, and this is around the time of me last year when I was in a relationship and I was trying my hardest to fight for a love that I knew I was already losing. Around this time, I already confronted my past partner about the fact that they might like someone else, and they told me no. I asked them for a name, and I already knew the name. I already know this person. And they gave me a whole completely different name. I played along, but deep down I was furious. And I remember certain conversations where she would bring this person up, and I would just not want to hear it, not want to listen to it. I would act clueless, and she would think I am clueless. But the reality was, I already knew everything. I wasn't clueless. And I remember certain points in these conversations that she would bring this other person up. She would ask me, why do you give me that smug face? Why do you look like you're uninterested in this conversation? And deep down I was like, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear about this. I already know, and you're just thinking I'm clueless. But I would always just play it off as I don't want to hear this. Give me something else, or try to kind of redirect the conversation into a different direction. And looking back at it now, that was completely the wrong thing to do. I should have just confronted it from the get go and honestly said something, but I didn't. Instead, what I was doing is behind the scenes, I was fighting for a love that I was already losing. I was fighting a war that I was already losing. Around this time, I was already trying to get the Valentine's present for her ready, and that was going to be like going to go to Disneyland. It was something she's always wanted since she was a kid, and I was getting ready to do that. And I thought for sure if I were just to do this, maybe, just maybe, she'll like me again. I wasn't clueless about the fact that I knew everything, but I was clueless about the fact that I was already losing a battle that I should have just let go. I should have just ended it there. But instead, this love that I had for this person was too much. So instead, I chose to go into it, hoping that maybe I'd win, but I didn't. I remember when I also got this ring. This was originally a promise ring. And I asked this person, is this a promise ring? And they said yes. But throughout the entirety of that day, I kept asking her, is this a promise ring? Is this a promise ring? Or are you just saying it just because? Are you saying it because earlier that month, my cousins and I just kind of outed you out the fact that I gave you a promise ring and I never got one in return? And even though it was a joke, later that month I got a promise ring. I wasn't clueless. Yet I also was at the same time. I already knew there was another person in this relationship. There was another person that was sneaking up, about to take my place. But I was clueless about the fact that I think I win. I think that maybe if I did something, I'd win her back. When the reality was is I should have just let go. I should have just confronted this sooner rather than later. When she gave me this ring, I kept asking her the entire day if this was a promise ring. And the reason was is because I already knew about everything that was happening behind the scenes. And I don't know if part of me just wanted the truth. Part of me just wanted her to kind of admit it, to say it. In a way, I guess my boundaries were pushed to a limit that when I finally broke in February at the end of this month last year, I knew that I couldn't sit around and act clueless anymore. But a lot of people do this where they will say, I don't like this person, or I'm not seeing this person, or they're just a friend, or they're just a coworker. Yet they say it because they think we're clueless. They think that we won't find out anything. They think that we're just dumb. I'm going to say it outright. We're just dumb. And not gonna lie, some of us won't really bat an eye. Some of us would just keep it to ourselves, and then eventually it happens. They leave us for someone else, or they choose something else, and eventually we're just kind of left like, what the heck? And then later on, we solve the puzzle, and we realize that there was signs very early on, and we were actually clueless. But I think majority of us already know ahead of time that we're not clueless. We act clueless because we want to see if you'll out yourself, if you'll actually confront it and say something, because I don't want to do the dirty work for you. I don't want to be the one to confront you and tell you what you're doing is wrong. When from the very beginning that you start showing affection towards someone else, showing interest towards someone else, you should already know that that is wrong. You should already know that that isn't right. Instead of acting clueless and thinking to yourself, maybe it is right if I just downplay it. Maybe they'll act clueless. Maybe they will be clueless. Maybe they are clueless. Instead of trying to downplay it and then point to your partner and tell them, no, it's not something big, it's something small, it's nothing, hoping that your partner is clueless. When, as a matter of fact, they've known from the very beginning. They were never clueless.